Hello everyone, and it's once again that time of year. Yes, it's not Christmas that's the most wonderful time of the year, but it is the PC gaming equivalent of Christmas, other than Christmas. But anyway, it's the Steam Summer Sale, and normally we look at 5 games for under £5, but this year we're gone a bit different. Today we're going to look at 7 games for under £7. So these are 7 games that priced at £7 or under in the Steam sale. Again, I've tried to stay away from games I've included in past lists. I will put links to past lists in case you want to see them. So let's start off then at number 7, which is The Elder Scrolls Online. It is £5.99 GBP, glorious British pounds. And in the US, it's $7.99. I can't use Trump dollars because, he's not around anymore. What about Biden bucks? Let's call it Biden bucks. Then that works. 8 Biden bucks, $7.99 in the US. Yeah, The Elder Scrolls Online. It is a buy-to-play game, so there's no subscription required. So you get a pretty decent... You get the base game without any of the expansions. It's a decent price for The Elder Scrolls Online. It is quite a decent MMORPG. Again, you only have to pay the upfront costs. And you get a decent... There's quite a lot of gameplay there. I mean, you can then look at buying the expansions later on, but it's a good way to jump in and see what it's all about. It is, again, the gameplay is kind of similar to how you would expect an Elder Scrolls game. It's not like WoW, which is like a click and target game. You do have to sort of, manually target things with the mouse, and it is pretty nice, The Elder Scrolls Online. A lot different to when it first launched. Because it has undergone quite a lot of fixes. It's had a number of expansions, but the base game is still a lot of content there. For only £6. And we'll move on to number 6, which is Resident Evil 7. This is on sale at £6.59, or just under 10 Biden bucks at $9.89 if you want in the US. Again, Resident Evil 7 was the first Resident Evil game the first mainline Resident Evil game, should we say, to go in the new direction of, being in first person. So if you missed that first time around and you want to check it out, it is a very good survival horror game, very different from Resident Evil Village. Having just finished RE Village, the sequel to Resident Evil 7. It's worth checking out, certainly worth checking this out if you haven't played it before. Again, it is different, it's more of a horror game than Resident Evil Village. It has more, certainly, suspense elements and more kind of jump scares. It tries to be scarier, but it is still a decent game, though. Still pretty decent. And we're moving on to number 5, which is Sunset Overdrive. Remember that time that Insomniac made an Xbox game? Yeah, that was weird. They made this for the Xbox One. It'll cost you £3.74 or 5 Biden bucks at $4.99 if you want the precise price. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. Quite underrated. Yeah, again, the people who made Spider-Man on the PS4 and Ratchet and Clank. The Ratchet and Clank games, most recently released on the PS5. This was their one and only Microsoft Game Studios published game. It is available on Game Pass if you have that for the PC or the Xbox One. You can check it out there, but on Steam it's a pretty decent game. It is the gameplay footage that we're using for the background of this video. Again, it really is an interesting... It's kind of like Jet Set Radio, or Jet Grind Radio as it was in the US, combined with a shooter. It's like yeah, something like that. It's like, think of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with some shooting in it. You got to grind on rails, you got to do tricks and bounce off cars while moving around and shooting the enemies. It's pretty interesting, pretty innovative. Certainly, it's a nice, colourful game. Didn't do too well when it came out, but I think it's worth checking out these days. You can get it on Game Pass, like we said, or you can pick it up for next to nothing on Steam. So moving on to number 4, we have Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. This came out again a few years ago. Again, the developer Ninja Theory got signed by Microsoft, and the sequel to this is going to be exclusive on PC and Xbox. But this is worth checking out. It is quite a good sort of third-person puzzle solving. There's a bit of combat. It's got an adventure game. It's got a really interesting story. It kind of delves into sort of mental health issues. So that's quite interesting. In the UK, it's £6.74. In the US, it's $7.49 if you want to check it out. Really good story. Really interesting concept that it has, and an interesting setting. It is set in the sort of Norse underworld. So that's quite a great art direction as well, and looks amazing as well. And at number 3, we have The Surge, which is £4.49 or $4.99 in the land of Biden. Again, this is a Souls-like sci-fi game. It's kind of an interesting take on the Souls formula. Again, rather than being set in a sort of gothic, medieval sort of setting, they've gone for a futuristic sci-fi setting. And it is a pretty interesting game. You sort of upgrade your suit and you upgrade your weapons from bits of enemies that you find, which is, again, if you like the Souls series, then this game is for you. If you like sci-fi games, it's a pretty decent attempt at it. It's a pretty decent game as well. And I think it's the folk that made Lords of the Fallen. That was another Souls-like game. But I thought The Surge was a lot better. It's got a really interesting setting there, using the sci-fi setting in a Souls-like game. It's pretty good there. And at number 2, we have Warhammer Vermintide 2, which is £5.49 or $7.49. Again, it's a pretty interesting take. It is very much like Left 4 Dead with rats, is a simplified explanation of it. It is set in the Warhammer fantasy universe, and it is kind of interesting. You get different classes as opposed to the different characters in Left 4 Dead. So they do add a new twist. There's loot in it. There's things like loot. The classes play very differently as well. You can play like, you can play someone with a bow, you can play someone with a sword and shield. But pretty interesting. You fight rats instead of zombies. You've got the specialized rats. You've got, like, if you played Left 4 Dead, this one is definitely worth checking out. Again, very cheap, and again, very interesting game. Play it multiplayer. This is probably the multiplayer game that we'll put on the list. Really better with friends. It is a 4-player co-op game. But definitely worth checking out. Visually as well, it looks pretty good as well. I think the art style, again, is excellent. If you like the Warhammer fantasy kind of universe and the end times kind of universe setting in Warhammer, then, you'll like this game. You should check it out. And at number 1, we've gone for Titanfall 2. Yeah, you can get EA games now on Steam. Titanfall 2 costs £4.99 in the US. £4.99 in the UK, £4.99. In the US, it's £5.99 again. So Titanfall 2 had one of the best first-person shooter campaigns that I've ever played in the last generation. I thought it was the best FPS campaign. Reminds me a lot of, because kind of like Half-Life, those kind of games. The way you get to use the way they give it, the way you use the gravity gun in Half-Life. You don't have the gravity gun, but the time manipulation level I thought was incredible. And that was one of the best levels, and certainly one of the best FPS campaigns. This came out in 2016. Kind of went under the radar because it was out against Battlefield and Call of Duty. I think it came out against those two. But definitely worth checking out. The campaign is definitely worth it. The multiplayer is decent, though. The multiplayer is pretty damn good. You can play with the pilots and the Titans. But the campaign is really worth buying just for the campaign, certainly for that price. I would say you can get it on EA Play, or again, it is available on Xbox Game Pass as well. I should point out that's one of the things you've got to check with these Steam summer sales. Is you go and, oh, I'm going to buy that. Oh wait, I'll check Game Pass first because it might be on Game Pass again. Which we kind of shied away from putting most of the EA games on because you can get them via EA Play. EA Play is available on Steam and Game Pass as well. You can get them. You have to download the Windows Store version if you want it on EA on Game Pass though. That is a downside. But yeah, I think Titanfall 2 had just an amazingly good campaign. The platforming was excellent, and so was the shooting. And combining the shooting and the platforming really cool. Again, that time manipulation level in itself is just a work of art. You know, you jump between two different time zones with your you get a little time manipulation device, and it lets you jump between two different time zones because you fight different enemies in different time zones, so you can spawn in a bunch of enemies will spawn in front of you in one time zone. You can flip to the future, run behind them, and then flip back to the past, and you'll just appear instantaneously behind them, and they'll not know what's going on. Really cool. Use it to solve puzzles. Use it to do platforming. Again, definitely worth it. It's the best level in a fantastic game. But anyway, that is all for this video. So that was my top 7 Steam games in this summer sale. It's a pretty interesting games now that you can get, particularly under the under £7 category. I think is pretty good. I should point out there was 33,000 games that we could have put on this list. Potential. That was the search result of the under £7 section. So yeah, difficult list to compile, but I think we tried to put one of everything. Put some multiplayer games, put some single player games in there. Tried to, got RPGs in there and the Elder Scrolls Online and the Surge. Got some first-person shooters, a third-person shooter, a horror game, and Resi 7. So yeah, I think we covered most things. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you again soon, and goodbye.